Just a brief note about Justice and Beyond. As many of you know, Justice and Beyond has been organizing for about 9 years now as we come together in spaces together to talk about ways that we can greater bring equity and justice to situations and to systems that we see all around us, both in the city of New Orleans and at times beyond New Orleans, as in the river parishes and in some occasions beyond, to make sure that our neighbors are having the best environment for themselves, are living in the best environment for themselves. And so we are a coalition. That means that we are happy to add to this coalition and want to bring others on. About 4 years ago now, Justice and Beyond adopted a new system of governance and organization so that we would not be reliant upon one or two people to govern this body, but that we would be governed by what we call our pillar system. What does that mean? It means that a pillar is a representative of an organization that has signed up to be a part of the planning and a part of the governing and a part of the just overall oversight of this coalition. Any group can be a pillar. Individuals can even be pillars. And so with that said, I want you to know that we at Justice and Beyond, we want and need and look forward to you coming alongside and saying, I want to help. And so our vision is to become more inclusive and more diverse, even as we continue to grow in this season. So with that said, we come together every Monday at 5 o'clock to discuss these important issues that we're dealing with, to dismantle racism and to create systems that are not biased or partial towards anybody. And so with that said, tonight is an extremely important conversation about education in our city. And personally, Justice and Beyond believes, and I believe, that education is one of the ways that we can tackle our crime issues that we're facing right now. It must education must be a key focus in all that we do, so that our children will be set up in order to be successful and to thrive in our communities. And so, with that said, we are grateful for each of our panelists that are joining us tonight, who are in their own respects experts in this area and are doing phenomenal things. And we, as the leaders of Justice and Beyond, really are excited about having them speak to you tonight. And so I'm going to ask each one to just give maybe a minute and a half, we'll call it a minute and a half, introduction of themselves. And then we will go ahead with some pre-prepared questions that we have for each of you. So first of all, thank you, guest panelists, for being with us tonight and for sharing this time and your expertise with us tonight. I'm going to ask Dr. Ashanta Wyatt to first introduce herself and just tell us what you would like for us to know.
Good evening, y'all. How y'all doing? I'm actually honored to be with you today. I'm native to New Orleans, as many of you know. Educated, went to William J. Fisher in the project, the Fisher Project, and I went to Carr from 7th to 12th grade. I eventually went to Alabama State University to play collegiate volleyball. Came back home, played volleyball at Dillard University before earning my undergraduate at the University of New Orleans. And then I went on to graduate from Xavier with both my master's and my doctorate. I've worked in every level of education from Head Start to college. I actually just finished adjuncting at UNO. I've adjunct at SUNO. I've guest lectured at Tulane a number of times. But right now, presently, I'm a former principal, but presently I run my own consulting firm that focuses on education and social justice reform. One of our big wins was having the Jefferson Parish Police Department wear body cameras. There was an extensive investigation into their culture of policing in Jefferson Parish, but there was never video evidence to back up the reports that they were writing. And after the 7th Black man was murdered, we put together a petition that garnered enough signatures so that our state rep could put the bill on the floor, and present day they're wearing body cameras in Jefferson Parish. So that's one of our big wins with social justice reform. We're trying to do something very similar in Plaquemines Parish. My firm now represents the families of 3 Black children who have been mishandled by the Plaquemines Parish Sheriff's Office, for a lack of a better term. And anywhere there's an inequity or an injustice around education, I'm namely the person people reach out to. I've gotten about 4 calls since I've been in Jamaica, and I've been able to handle them by sending the information to a couple of my colleagues who are still in the city. And we were able to handle some issues. Well, I was able to get some issues handled all the way from Jamaica, but the work never stops. And as long as there's a need, I'm coming. And so that's just me in a nutshell. I am a parent, and I think being a mother is the foundation for everything that I do. I want to make New Orleans safe because my son lives there. I want to make the schools better because my son attends school. And when my son is done with school, there are going to be children who are in need of those places and that city. And I want it to be safe. And I want it to be all encompassing. And I want it to be a place where not just a certain subsection of people get to thrive, but that everybody thrives in the city. And so that's what I do. That's the work that I do, the premise behind the work that I do.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Wyatt. Appreciate that. We appreciate you being with us tonight. Brother Jerome Morgan, would you share with us tonight just a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Reverend Manning and the rest of the people who've joined tonight. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure and honor to be amongst y'all. You know, Justice and Beyond has a special place in my heart. Yeah, I'm Jerome Morgan. I'm a native of New Orleans. I grew up in Pontchartrain Park due to foster care. Yeah, I went to 35 for my freshman year, Kennedy for my sophomore year, Nichols, which is now Douglas, for my junior year. And before making it to my senior year at Joan Mack, I was arrested at age 17 for a second-degree murder that I didn't commit of a 16-year-old, Clarence Landry. I spent 20 years in Angola prison before I was able to bind out and uh, overcome re-prosecution that lasted 2 years while I was out on bond with the help of Justice and Beyond as well. And so from there, I founded a youth organization called, well, co-founded with Robert Jones, Freedom Foundation, which is a organization that supports our youth's transition from childhood to adulthood. Uh, I'm also an author. I've written 2 books to highlight my upbringing, to encourage young people to get through the struggles that they're going through in their young
Robert,
lives. And also author of a book called Go to Jail, which is a collection of writings from young people that I was corresponding with while I was in prison. And right now, what I'm doing is I'm a director of school environment and school culture at Rooted School. So yeah.
all right. Thank you, Brother Jerome. Appreciate you being here. Brother Robert Jones, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, absolutely. First of all, thank you all for inviting me. And as Jerome said, Justin Beyond hold a place in my heart. I remember, actually, I miss Justin Beyond because me and Jerome used to always attend and get involved in a lot of those things. But however, it didn't stop our progress and our fight of working together with you all and the things that you're concerned about. For the most part, I'm a native of New Orleans. I grew up in the downtown area here in New Orleans, Desire Housing Project. You know, my journey throughout this, social justice reform for the most part is that, I grew up in poverty, just like every young Black kid here in the city. Grew up fast, became a product of my environment. Eventually, I dropped out of school, and at the age of 19, I was arrested and accused of 10 crimes I did not commit, and eventually convicted of those crimes and received a life sentence in plus 239 years. And I served 23 years, 7 months, and 2 days while in prison. prior to me getting out of prison, years of fighting the justice system from behind the wall, helping other folks. I re-educated myself in the law and a variety of other subjects that maybe emerged to equivalent of degrees of maybe I don't like to put tap my shoulders, but I have a lot of education in various different subjects. And when me and Jerome was in prison, we thought about our youth primarily because when we was there, we was like mentors there in a sense. We ran our self-help organizations and we transformed a lot of lives. We seen a lot of youth that was coming inside the institution that wasn't educated on a lot of principles and morals that they should have got from their houses, should have got from their communities. So we took a close look at some of the organizations that existed, and we realized that they wasn't really doing their job. So when we got out, when we was there, we said we're going to form a nonprofit organization to kind of like focus on the youth and do exactly what he said, help them make that transition from childhood. Currently, right now, I'm on some small businesses here in New Orleans. Mainly a publishing company. I'm a published author of 2 books that I wrote and one co-wrote with Jerome Morgan and Daniel Rito. And right now I'm employed as a director of community outreach and lead organizer client advocate for the Orleans Public Defender's Office, in which I oversee a resentencing unit that successfully, as of today, have helped successfully free 176 guys from Angola who have life sentences that was going to never get out. And of course, Reverend Man, I'm always involved in changing the laws as a part of the unanimous jury committee, as well as the misidentification laws and some of the smaller ordinances that we have. I have lent my hand and voice to or influence to change some of these local laws in our city. I'm just in the fight, man. I always stand for what is right, and I'm not afraid to speak truth to power. And that's what me and Jerome have been doing throughout the course of our time of being free. I've been exonerated for 6 years now, and we still got a lot of work to do. And I'm like I said, I'm just honored to be amongst you all because I know a lot of you all by your work, not personally. And I hope we can use these opportunities like this because it's needed more, especially now in our city and throughout our country, to start formulating these think tanks to, start making change, change that people will need. So I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it, and you all can reach out to me after this, get my contact information because I'm an action man. I mean, I like to meet and come up with a viable plan, but I'm an executor, I like to go to work, so thank you all for inviting me, and I'm here,
All right, my brother. Thank you for that. We know we got some warriors on this call tonight, and I'm excited about that. Thank you for all that you do. And if you want to drop your contact information, any of you, in the chat right now, just so people can begin to write that down and have the opportunity to connect with you, that will be excellent. Let me move on to Mr. David Cash. Would you introduce yourself for us?
Good evening. Thank you, Reverend Manning. And I'm really excited to be here. I've, like Robert and Jerome, I used to come to Justice Beyond meetings in the past, especially when they were in person. I remember a lot of those. And I'm glad to be back here again. So I'm not a native of New Orleans. I've lived here for 30 years. I moved here in 1993. And I've been teaching since 2007. I'm a high school teacher. I used to teach social studies, and now I teach technology, specifically coding, video game design, and visual design, like Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. I work at Rooted School, where Jerome works as well. And in addition to that, as being a teacher, I'm also the president of United Teachers of New Orleans, AFT Local 527. I'm proud to be a member of UTNO. I have been since the day I started teaching, and I've been in leadership in the union on the executive council since the end of my first year of teaching. I was the recording secretary, and then I served as the executive vice president and now the president. At UTNO, we we believe, as all labor unions do, that when workers have a voice, when workers have power through collective bargaining, then any organization runs better when workers have power and a voice. And we've been working hard to help teachers across the city get that voice in the form of a collective bargaining agreement. Currently, we have 2 schools where teachers work under a collective bargaining agreement, Ben Franklin High School and Morris Jeff Community School. We also have 2 schools which are currently at the table bargaining for a contract. That's International High School of New Orleans and Bricolage Academy. In addition, the school where Jerome and I work, and where Alvin attends, who's one of our is in the Zoom with us. Alvin's a student at our school, Rooted School. In October, our union, but the teachers got together at Rooted and went to the board and asked to be recognized as a union, and we were voluntarily recognized. And now we are organizing ourselves to get ready for collective bargaining. So we'll be bargaining for a contract soon at Rooted. So that's about, so after the end of the spring, hopefully into the summer, maybe we'll have 5 schools with collective bargaining agreements. We're really proud of that. We think that the more of that we see, the better schools will function for students when teachers have what they need. We know that a teacher's working conditions are a student's learning conditions. And so that's what we really work hard to make happen. So I'm really honored to be here tonight. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm really excited that some of our students are going to be joining as they get home. Looks like there's another one, maybe Jason, I can't see last name, but Jason might be the student at our school that I invited to come. So it looks like a couple of them will be rolling in as we go. So thanks again for inviting us.
Dave, we appreciate you being here. Let me, can I ask, so Alvin is one of the students and is here. Can I ask Alvin a question? Alvin, you there?
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
everyone.
How are you?
I'm great, and you, sir?
I'm doing good. My name is Reverend Manning, and I help lead this organization, this coalition called Justice and Beyond. And we appreciate you being here tonight. You just call me Rev or Reverend Manning, either way, but I just want to ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself, Alvin. What grade are you in?
Right now I am a sophomore at Rooted School. I would say that I am kind of a straight A student. I started at Rooted School like in the middle of the school year last year in October. When I first got there, I really didn't like the school because of like environment, and plus it was like my first time being in high school. It was like really hard for during my first month of high school. I thought I was gonna fail, but I would say a couple of teachers like Dave and I would say, yeah, Dave and counselors, they really did encourage me to do better. And others like my grandma, I give props to them. But so far, I'm very happy to be at Rooted School. I'm not used to talking like this. I myself, I am a native to New Orleans. I also grew up in poverty, so yeah.
Right. All right. Thank you, Alvin. You are doing an excellent job of talking, and we appreciate that. We just appreciate you being here, and for you, we already know you're a incredible student. So, just tell me real quick, what is your favorite subject at Rooted School?
I would say my favorite subject out of all would be biology. I love learning about like their environment and like how humans impact the environment. That's my favorite part of biology. And I myself, my career goals is like people like Dave Cash. I want to be a Black educator. I hope to lead the next generation. From what I've seen growing up in education, I've seen a lot. It's been it's just a lot to be like a student. Matter of fact, a student of color going to school in New Orleans and like being, um, treated horribly by the school system. So as an educator in the future, I hope to inspire a lot of my students.
Oh, wow. Alvin, you are setting yourself up for us to do a forum just with you and about 5 other of your friends. So expect to be called on again. All right.
Hey,
um,
Reverend Manning, there's also another student, I'm sorry to interrupt, Jason Chigbu, if you want to check in with him as well.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. Hey, Jason, glad that you're here tonight. Thanks for joining us. I'm Reverend Manning, co-moderator for Justice and Beyond. We're so glad that you're here. Tell us what grade are you in, Jason?
How you doing, Reverend? Thank you for having me. I'm a senior who attends Ruder School.
All right, very good. Senior year, about to get up out of there, huh?
Excited, but I'm still going, still being patient.
Yeah, gotta finish that race strong. But let me ask you, what is your favorite thing about Rooted School?
By far, Reverend, my favorite thing at Ruder is my teachers. I see this because coming from a private school, I used to attend Holy Cross Catholic School, and coming from there, we have teachers at Ruder who really care about the students' well-being. Some days, we're all humans. We may not be in a mood to do certain things or reach our full potential in a classroom how we may supposed to be every day. And they have teachers like, Mr. J, Mr. Dave, Miss Carp, our principal, who is always looking out for us and making sure that we get back on the right track to continue to succeed and prosper.
All right, that's good. Succeed and prosper. I like that. Very good. Thank you for being here, Jason. We're gonna have a conversation tonight with our other panelists on here, and you and Alvin are 2 of our guest panelists, and we appreciate you being here. So anytime we may ask you to jump in or help give a response or your thoughts on some answers. And so just stay tuned and stay on. Go ahead and mute your phone and you'll know when you're called on. So thanks again. I'm going to talk here, everybody. I have some questions that I want to ask and quite a few. And so we're going to try to get to as many of them as possible before 6 o'clock when we open it up to everyone that's in attendance tonight on the forum. But I want to go to Dr. Wyatt real quick. Dr. Wyatt, you on your website, you referred to getting back to student-centered learning. I believe that's what the model is called. Can you tell us more about what that looks like?
Hey, sure. So for me, a lot about education is rooted in testing. I don't think that testing for any child should be the be all end all standard of what they're learning. And so for me, I think having children in high school align with their interests is the best way to teach them. The content is going to always be the content, but if you put them on pathways to what their interests are, then they're more inclined and more motivated to participate in the content. I'm a fan of the ASVAB test because it gives you, like the military uses it, but it gives you an idea of, the trajectory of what their interests are and what field they would be in. And I think creating pathways and plans for children to leave our high schools with certifications in the area of their interest also puts them on a path to working if higher education, post-secondary education is not their plan. Not everybody wants to go to college. College should be an option for everybody, but not everybody wants to go to college and not everybody's going to thrive in college. And I think specifically in New Orleans, we have some very talented children who can make the kind of money that college degrees align themselves with. But I do not think that we should force our kids into a one size fit all measurement of what teaching and learning looks like. So I said student centered because if we focus on the children and what their interests are and we build the curriculum from what they're interested in, I think we'll hit our target more likely than not. So that's what I meant.
Okay, very good. Appreciate that. And I very much appreciate the fact that that you're uplifting the understanding that not all of our students have that desire or should even be set on a trajectory where they have the expectation to go to college. There are a lot of lucrative job opportunities out there that can allow them to sustain themselves and their families without going to college. So thank you for that. Brother Jerome, can you tell us how you got, I think you said this a little in your introduction, but a little bit more about how you came to be involved in Rooted School?
Well, it's kind of like a long story, to be honest with you. But you know, I got involved because it was purpose. To, just to make a long story short, like I said, I was wrongfully convicted as a teenager of a teenager who was murdered. Two other 16-year-olds were shot, and so you know, and also getting arrested at the school I was trying to register at for my senior year. You know, all of this spoke to me, you know, in the realms of education. You know, in my day, our school system was known as school to prison pipeline, and it still remains that way today. Uh, and so initially, when I was released and after availing re-prosecution and after my big brother was also exonerated, we created an organization that can, you know, be a safety net for those students who were, you know, falling behind in school because of the measure of scoring high on the test. Uh, and so with success doing that, automatically, you know, I made connections with leaders like David Cash, Kalamu Yasalan, Jim Randalls, Ashley Jones, and a whole lot of other people that was working in the profession of education, and they did everything they could do to pull me in, and so that's how I ended up at Rooted School.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Jerome. Jason and Alvin, you still there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you this. So we're talking a lot about Rooted School, an exceptional school. What do you think and both of you touched on this a little bit in your introduction, but what do you think the advantage of going to Rooted School for you is over say any other school in the city? What when you sell it to somebody else, you said this is why this school is incredible. What are the advantages there than any other school? Go ahead, Alvin, maybe you first.
Can you ask the question again?
Yeah, so when you look at Rooted School and you know, if you were to take kind of write a brochure and promote the school to your other friends that are not going, when you leave after your senior year, what do you think the advantages are that you'll have above everybody else having attended Rooted School?
One thing that I would say like the advantage is like having a better opportunity compared to like going to any other school in Orleans Parish. Better opportunities like speaking like I guess like having that encouragement from teachers around you or other staff. And also not only that, but also the academics we offer or the extracurriculars we offer, like with dual enrollment, tech classes, that helps in the long run. And also like with internships and everything, that's a better opportunity. That is what makes Rooted School different than other high schools within the city.
Very good. Good answer. Thank you for that. And Jason?
Yes, sir. In my opinion, if I was telling somebody about Rooted School, I would say the biggest thing to me that will help us, that will help our students succeed. I feel more is we offer job. They offer jobs right after you get out from school. So even if you don't want to go to college, you will have somebody you could go find a trade, and they'll help you pay for your school, and you will come work for that company soon as you're done. So maybe if college isn't for you, you could go into the workforce and be comfortable.
All right, so that's a little goes back to what Dr. Wyatt was saying in setting up an individualized the plan for each student in terms of what they can do that may not include going to college. So let me ask you, Jason, what are you doing after senior year?
I plan on attending college. My top two is University of Lafayette and Southern University. And I plan on trying to major in business. That's just what I plan on doing at the high school right now.
Excellent, excellent. We know you're going to be successful. Thank you for sharing that. Let me go to Dave. Dave, you are working at Rooted School. Your name is mentioned as an exceptional teacher. And we just want to know more about how you came to be involved with Rooted School, and what do you think the best selling point and advantages of Rooted School?
Wow, how long do I have? There's so many. So the first school I taught at was George Washington Carver Senior High School when it was controlled by the RSD. And I worked there until it was starting to phase out and they were moving into charter school. And I didn't really want to work for a charter school. So I was, working for the director on RSD. So then I heard about an opening at McDonald 35, a school where I'd been wanting to work for a while. And so I moved over to 35 because it was also directly run by the school board at the time. And so I stayed there. So during the time, even though I was at these direct run schools, in those 6 years at Carver, 6 years at 35, I had 11 principals in the 12 years that I was there. And that just tells you a little bit about this crazy system that we're in. And so I got to see a lot of different leaders and a lot of, I got to see good and bad examples of leadership. And when 35 was getting closed to be turned over to Inspire NOLA to be chartered, I wanted to stay with my students, and so I did apply. And I think that Jamar McNeely knows that I'm, a union activist, and I just think I'm not sure how it happened, but I heard from people that interviewed me and other things that I got high marks, but they ultimately, I don't think that it was a good fit. And I'm glad in the end that it worked out, because then I had to find a job, and a friend of mine told me about Rooted School, and I just started teaching technology, and Rooted was really focused on technology. He said, "Oh, you should talk to Rooted." So I went over there and interviewed, and went well. And yeah, this is my 4th year at Rooted, and so my 16th year teaching. And what do I love about Rooted? That's how I got to Rooted. Rooted does, so I think that you've heard this alluded to by Jason and Alvin. Our promise is that every student graduates with a job offer in one hand and a college acceptance letter in the other, meaning that we want to make sure students are prepared for college if that's what they want, but we also don't push college on every student like some schools in the city do. We also want to make sure students can go straight into the workforce. And we have a program called the Green Balloon Fellowship, where we work with local businesses to make sure that they they understand, because it's a difference for them, right? They're not used to hiring 18-year-olds right out of high school into these jobs that pay, $39,000, $40,000 a year. And our job at Rooted is to help them get the soft skills that they need to work with adults, and also to help them get the technical skills they need to work on the job. And so that's what I do, is I help, as a tech teacher, I help students earn industry-based certifications in, we offer them in lots of different subjects at Rooted, so that when they go off to a job, they've got a resume and they can show, hey, I've got these industry certifications. So one is that the way we prepare students for those paths. But in terms of how we work with students at school, our mental health support in our school is better than I've seen at any school I know of in the city. We work with a group called Whole Village Art Therapy. We have 2 full-time art therapists on staff, and that's for a school of about 150 students. So that's a lot of mental health support, way of a higher ratio than anywhere else. And those 2 people pull students out individually for sessions that they have on a regular basis. For some students who need that, they do groups with students on a regular basis. So they're not just there to like be reactive to what students need in a moment, but also to proactively build this culture of understanding and mental health support and helping students understand. And students will say, can I go see Miss Bahari? And and when Miss Bahari comes in and says, oh, can I see the student? I've never seen a student say, oh, do I have to go with her? They all get up and go because they love the time that they spend with her, And Jerome is like, as our director of school environment, is also supporting students all the time when there is a disagreement or a conflict between students. We use restorative practices, and not like in the way that a lot of schools say they use restorative practices and then just stick kids in like a closet and say that's restored and have them write an essay. We actually do repairs with students. Sometimes the repairs last 2 or 3 hours. However long you need to help understand what's at the root of the conflict and for the students to heal. And as a result, we have very few fights in our school, almost none. They happen once in a while, but they're very rare. It's maybe, a few a year, 2 or 3 a year. It's the lowest I've seen at any school. And it's because there's a culture of respect that comes from the top down from our school leader, Caitlin Karpinski, that we are collaborative, and we do things democratically, and we respect and honor each other as human beings all the time, and that it permeates everything about the school. And I think you've sort of heard, some expressions of that from Alvin and Jason, and I think you would hear that from many students that you would talk to in the school. So I could go on, but those are just some of the things I think are fantastic about Rooted.
I appreciate that. What was the name of that fellowship that you mentioned for Mr. First 2?
Yeah, it's called the Green Balloon Fellowship, and it is open. So when we first started it, so we've had only 2 graduating classes, right? We're a relatively new school. The first year, we just did it with our own students, but the second year, last year when we graduated students, we opened it up to other schools. Our counselor reached out to other schools around the city, and we had some students from, I don't know which schools, but other high schools in the city that came during the beginning of the summer to our sort of boot camp, where we do like soft skills development and maybe some quick training on like our Microsoft Office and things like that. And some other students came that we've helped place into jobs around the city as well. So our intention is not for it just to be something we hold close, but a program that we extend to the rest of the city as we grow it. With the Green Balloon Fellowship is what it's called.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Would love to see that citywide, and also more of the implementation of the mental health support that is, I think we all know, is extremely needed, not only with our children, but with adults, but especially in our schools. So thank you for that. Let me turn to Brother Robert. Brother Robert, tell us what you're working with Rooted School as well too. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes. Yes.
Tell us what I think a lot of times is, not only what you bring to the school or what we bring to something else, but what we get back from it as well too, because it's not a lot of, it's not just us pouring in, but it's how we're blessed from our participation with these young people. So can you just reflect upon how you've grown and what you've received back just from your participation at the school?
Yes. Well, first of all, I was first introduced in Rooted School. I was a part of a session that was done by the Player Coalition, and we went to the school, and I got a chance to kind of like understand exactly what they do and how they were started and different things of that nature. So I kind of like always wanted to work with them. And I mean, years later, here's Jerome now, you know, he's have a position in the school. So it's kind of like, you know, it was guard engineer. And also recently our organization have like two of our mentors that actually work with some of the students over there. And Rudy School is such is amazing school. I think every school in America should model behind it for the most part. And also it aligned with our principles of our organization. And primarily because, as was Dr. Watts said, and I love what she said, because me and Jerome always have said that when we got out, we used to also participate in McDonald 35. We used to go there and do classes with Dave and some of the other teachers there. And one of the things is, like, we know when I was growing up in school, and then most of us was growing up in school, we had those technical skill sets that was inside the school. And as Dr. White said, everybody might not want to go to college, you know, but they got skill sets. They got the passion or the compassion to want to work and want to provide for them families and things. So because of the reason in our organization, what we does, it's kind of like provide them with like life skills, which is not taught in school, which is the soft skill that we teach in our organization, and the hard skill. We align our students, align our mentees up with people who have skill sets, and our organization also pays for certifications and things like that to help these kids who may not want to participate. So Rudy School kind of like fell in line with that. And I tell you, in our program, we don't have a cookie cutter program. We got individual programs. And the thing is that we provide mentorship predicated on what the needs are the kids. What are their needs? What their needs? Not only that, they just enrolling in the program, but we tell our program according to their needs so we can get them real help. And so what it does for me, man, growing up in the environment that I grew up in, and knowing that I was prohibited or denied a lot of access to a lot of things that I have access to now, and to see these kids in Rudy School to kind of like take advantage of those mentorship, take advantage of listening to their teacher, take advantage of wanting to do better. It's heartfelt to me, right? Because then what it does is give me confidence in the future, right? Give me confidence in the future of young Black and brown boys taking leadership roles and not just being followers. It's kind of it's stepping up and taking leadership. And that's predicated on all the access to the resources that they have around them, you know. And what it does, like I said, what it does for me, it not only warms my heart, but it gives me the confidence, and it gives me the willpower to keep on fighting for change on the larger level, right? And as I said, you know, if it was up to me, I would take Rudy School and kind of like make it a primary example that all schools should follow all around this country, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. Appreciate your passion for that for the Rooted School. Let me ask you all this, just to be clear, Rooted School is located where? Where's it located?
It's located in 6701 Press Drive, and that's on Suno's campus,
Okay.
right past on Press Drive, right past Leon C. Simon, right next to the FBI building.
How many students?
140.
And it's co-ed?
Yes, co-ed.
All right. What grades?
9th through 12th.
All right. Very good. Just wanted to, what was that last part?
I said public charter.
Okay. All right.
Not a charter school, not a private school. It's open to everybody.
Okay. Gotcha. Dr. Wyatt, can we just have a brief conversation with all of you about the charter school system? Because as all of us are aware, the school system looked very different before Katrina, pre-Katrina, and post-Katrina. In your view, what are your thoughts on the present school system as we have it in New Orleans post Katrina? I know that's
Well, because I took the pause because just as we're in this system, right? Even
right.
pre-Katrina, there were issues with our school system. The problem that I have when the conversation is about charter schools, they immediately want to try to compare it to pre-Katrina. There is no comparison at this point. We've been living in charter schools a long enough time for the charter school to measure itself against the charter schools instead of measuring itself against pre-Katrina schools, because we all know pre-Katrina, we did not have the money, we did not have the resources, we did not have the autonomy that they have now in charter schools. And 72% of our children still are not reading on grade level. So for every issue that you want to bring up about pre-Katrina schools, we're experiencing those same issues post-Katrina in the charter school landscape. So it's time for people to be honest about the conversation and eliminate this whole pre-Katrina, post-Katrina argument, because we are nearly 20 years into this experiment. And I call it an experiment because that's the way the charter law refers to it, right? And inside of the charter law, it says to replicate what's working and to discard what's not. We have not done that. If the root is school can be spoken about in the manner that I'm hearing it being spoken about, then it should be replicated all throughout the city. Whatever is going on in rooted school that is working for that population of children, it should also be able to be replicated in the communities where the schools are struggling. And this is not about a magic trick. This is about whatever is working. Let's see it. Let's diagnose it. Let's see what we can pull from it and implement it into other schools. My problem with the charter school system is this idea that it is a one-size-fits-all method of educating children. And what I mean by that is, if this was really predicated on choice, then parents should have the choice of where they actually want their children to go and should not be relegated to a one-app system that's only going to funnel you to the failing schools because you can't get in the high-performing schools. So let's start there. There shouldn't be a have and a have-not system of schooling. There's nothing that's magical about Ben Franklin other than the fact that they can handpick their children, right? There's nothing magical about what's going on at Lusher other than that they can funnel out the kids that they don't want and they can target the kids that they do want. And I know about that system because I attended Edna Cart Magnet School. And pre-Katrina, we gave a test that you had to pass to even be considered for acceptance, right? So we know these things are happening. There are caste systems within schools, and that is the problem. Everybody wants to talk about pre-Katrina, post-Katrina. I think that conversation needs to die so that we can focus on how to get our children reading, how to get them literate, how to get them ready for the workforce, how to get them to be productive citizens. And I tell people all the time, if you have a problem with the crime, you should have a problem with the school system. That's just a fact. Yes. Everything begins and ends with education, because even if you choose not to go to college, you have to have, as we're talking about, soft skills and hard skills. And where do you get those from? You get those from school. Not every child has parents, but every child in this city has access to a school. So we have to stop the conversation about what are the parents doing. A lot of the parents need the same skills that we're offering to children. A lot of them. A lot of the parents present day were Katrina babies, meaning they were 15, 16 years old when Katrina happened. So now they're parents and children and they're ill-equipped. But we constantly point fingers at the low-hanging fruit when the system is the problem. So I'm going to say not every school in the charter school system is doing it wrong. There are schools that are getting it right. But I want you to focus in and I want you to think about this. A lot of the schools they point to as doing it right, we're doing it right pre-Katrina. So we know that it's not about the system of schools, right? It's about what's happening in those buildings that we need to find out what is working and we need to replicate it all throughout the city. There should be no reason why children cannot read on grade level in a city as rich as New Orleans. And with all of the resources and all of the money that we've gotten our hands on post-Katrina, there should be no reason, no excuse. Our kids can't read, and that's a fact. So my issue is when we talk about the issues I have with charter schools, I think the autonomy is good if you're accessible to parents, if you're accessible to community stakeholders. I think the autonomy is bad when you can block out parents and you can block out community stakeholders and you can say it's my way or no way. I had a parent reach out to me today because her washing machine, her dryer broke. So she could not dry her baby's uniform pants. So she put on the pair of pants that she did have. And this particular school in New Orleans made the baby wait outside, would not let the child indoors. That is unacceptable, right? Because if you know that you are doing school in a high impoverished neighborhood, you should at the very least take into consideration things like this happening, which is why I had a washer and dryer in my school. Because what I cared about is that the kids were there, not what they were wearing, right? That is me. I can teach you all of the stuff once I get you in the building about appearances and how to dress for success and how do you go places and your attire speaks before your mouth opens. I can teach you that. But in order for me to do that, I have to open my doors and let you in. So to me, we're doing an injustice to parents in our community when our school becomes a part of the problem. Because a lot of these children are struggling in homes, and then they come to school and struggle, and then they go out in the community and struggle. And that's why you see the spike of juvenile violence that you're seeing, because we're disservicing children everywhere we look. And then we blame the children and we blame the parent, but we leave out the systems that are in place to help families, that are in place to help children. We excuse them, and they have all the money and all the resources. That's my problem with the current system. Like, be accountable.
Yeah.
For the fact that you have everything that is needed to educate children, and somehow there's still 72% of our babies that cannot read. Mm-hmm. That's criminal if you ask me, right? So yes. No, there was no perfection pre-Katrina. But what I had an issue with is that you washed away everything. You didn't keep what was working. You just dismantled everything and say, I'm gonna show you how to do school. And y'all, now we're almost 20 years later, you're doing no better than we did pre-Katrina. But you have more money and more resources and you're still struggling like we were. So make it make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Dr. Wyatt. And I was going to ask you a question about your comments at a special council meeting on crime. I know you were there. You made comments, correct?
Yes.
And I was going to ask you about that, but my presumption is that you said all of that at that meeting. And which is absolutely
well. What I will add about that, I did the thing that I want to share with you to give some context about what I was saying, because a lot of people from around the country watched that video, and if you're not in New Orleans, you really didn't have a basis to understand what I was saying. It didn't make sense to a larger audience of people. It's the fact that so many of our children are struggling, and I think there's a lack of humanity that's going on in New Orleans. And I think a lot of our children don't feel valued, they don't feel loved, they don't feel seen, they don't feel heard. They're just commodified in a system that is making all of this money off of them, but it's also disservicing them on so many levels. And for me to have all of this expertise, to have all of this education, and to be barred from a system that does not want to employ me, that was the basis of my frustration. There are so many unwanted children in our city. They just keep discard them out of the schools. They're throwing them away. They're giving them to the judicial system. And you have a person like me who is begging to work. Like, I want them. If you don't want them, I want them. And that was the premise for what you saw. I almost lost my mind at the meeting, because there is just no way that we could be talking about crime if you do not talk about the factors that contribute to crime. These children's parents can't pay their light bill and their rent, let alone buy food at one time. And y'all are talking about all of the outcomes, but you're not talking about the things that made that outcome possible. There's no affordable housing in New Orleans. There are no good jobs in New Orleans for people who do not have the education that many of us on this call have, so they're relegated to service work, right? And so that's the problem. You're underpaying them. You have them living in subpar conditions. And then you have children trying to be fathers in their homes, trying to be big brothers to their little siblings by going out and beating drums in the French quarters and doing all kinds of things to make money. And then you take that away from them. So what you'd expect them to do? You know what I mean? I tell people all the time, if you take an animal out of its natural habitat by starving it, by stripping away its natural environment, it's gonna start to migrate into the communities that it doesn't belong in. And it's gonna come looking for food, and it's gonna come looking for ways to survive. And that's what our children are doing. And we're just standing by and watching our village burn because we don't want to be honest about the causation of this stuff.
Absolutely. And when you said all you said, that name, Rooted School, and what we have to get to and speak truth to power out in the city of New Orleans and elsewhere are the
Yes.
root causes. Is that this just did not occur. There are root systemic causes to all of
Yes.
this. That if we ever expect a change in the violence that we're seeing right now,
Yep.
we to address those root causes, because all that we're going through right now, and I won't get on my soapbox because we have to move on, but all that we're going through now is because the roosters, the roosters, the chickens have come home to roost. We
Yes.
planted seeds, and now we're seeing the manifestation of it all right now.
And I'll say this, and then I'll turn myself on mute so you can move on. I applaud the Rooted School because I can tell you this. There are places in New Orleans that wouldn't let a Jerome Morgan cross its door sill, right? And so for me, since I've been in Jamaica, there's a father who reached out to me. He's begging the school to allow him to even participate in his child's education. And simply because he doesn't meet their standard of what it is to come into their building, he's barred from being a parent because he has a background and because he's done things 15, 20 years ago. What that teaches our children is there's no redemption in that city. And that is why they so easily throw children away, because there's no redemption in the city of New Orleans. You have to damn near be perfect, or you have to have a whole lot of affluence and money to thrive in the city of New Orleans right now. And that is not culturally New Orleans. That's not where we come from. We tired of pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. We're tired of it. Now it's time to make certain that we center people over political agendas. And I applaud Rooted School for giving Jerome Morgan and every other Jerome Morgan that's out there an opportunity to impact our children. Because what better example of where you want to go when you can see somebody who's been there, done that, it can show you that that's not where you want to be, baby. The streets don't love you. There's nothing out there in the streets for you, right? And so I tip my head to Rooted School. I've never been there. Maybe I need to go visit so I can see it for myself. But to all the educators at Rooted School, I salute y'all. So I'm gonna go on mute and let y'all have it, and I'm gonna listen.
Thank you. I got questions from the audience. That was
Reverend, I got
Go ahead.
Can I chime in on that piece there?
I'll call on you anyway. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, man, you laid it out. She laid everything out, right? And it's sad that, I mean, it's sad that we got to, we still have to have this conversation as it relates to our schooling system, as you said, that, the system is no different from what before Katrina, right? And so now we still having the issue. But I tell you a lot of things, and a lot of times, we miss the point a lot of times as to the root cause of all this stuff is systemic racism, right? And when you think about systemic, right? When you think about racism is an individual concept, right? When you think of racism, but when you say systemic racism, you're talking about institutional racism and how you implement as an institution. You implement these differences and disadvantages or level of oppressions by creating rules, regulations, and policies that keep people like Dr. Watts out the system, to keep people like Jerome and myself out the system. Is these policies that we have, right? And we screaming at people and angry at people. And the problem is the policies, rules, and regulations that we need to change, right? We need to change these things so they can allow teachers like Dr. Watts to go inside this, right? To go inside these schools and people like myself and Jerome and other guys, like our mentors, you know what I'm saying? It's like the system that we have, and we have a very, very, very high success rate in our small nonprofit organization. When we created the organization to be very small, we didn't want no multi-million-dollar organization with no results, right? We have a small organization that's with huge results. As a matter of fact, some of the mentees that participate in our program, a lot of them are engineers, a lot of them are barbers, a lot of them have a variety of different skill sets, and then you even got one or two of them that was accepted at Harvard University. You know what I'm saying? Because of the program. And so if we can institute these type of things and bring the community inside the schools, then we can fix these problems. But in order for us to get in these schools, we got to change the rules, regulations, and the policies to make these things happen.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for that, my brother. So I want to bring real quick, and I'm doing a horrible job of moderating tonight because we are way behind schedule. But this is just an incredible conversation. Just to let y'all know, this is one of a two-parter on education that we'll be having. So we will be continuing this conversation. But I want to bring Scholar Alvin and Scholar Jason back into this conversation, just to because we touched on a little bit ago the mental health support that students are able to participate in. Jason and Alvin, do you feel like you've benefited from the mental health support that Rooted School offers? Jason, how about you first? Jason, you there? If not, let me see if Alvin is there.
Yes.
Did you hear the discussion about mental health support?
Oh, yes, sir. What was your question again? I'm sorry.
So one of the guests panelists talked about the groups getting together and of students and talking through issues and working through issues to ensure that and that possibly being a reason why there's less fighting that we see at Rooted School than other schools, and just the mental health support in general. Have you noticed that is maybe a peaceful, more calmer school than other schools in the city?
I'm sorry again. Can you ask that question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so mental health support, meaning, just the opportunity for you as students to get together and talk about kind of maybe the anxieties,
Yeah.
that you feel as a student, because we know y'all got a lot going on. We as parents and older folk, we take that for granted sometimes, but y'all got a lot on you. Is there an opportunity that you feel that you have to express that to staff there at Rooted School?
Yeah, it does feel like I have an opportunity.
That's good. You don't have to answer for but I like the fact, and I'm sure you do too, that after the school there's less fights.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I actually did notice that a lot. Well, at my school, we don't have that many fights. Well, we don't have any fights at school. Because it's a small school, 140 students.
Yeah.
Everybody knows one another.
Mm-hmm.
So even though there might be confrontations or, problems with one another, people at my school will always, take it a different way instead of, making it such a big problem.
Yeah.
We have a lot of teachers like Mr. Jerome and Mr. Taj that actually listens, or other teachers that actually listens to, problems that's going on. And I guess that's also part of why we don't have as much taking place at school, because we are actually heard, because at other schools, you won't get that from teachers or staff or any kind of support.
Yes, that's incredibly important, right? For students to be heard and not just ignored, and having the opportunity to talk through some stuff.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. Listen, I got to move to some questions from the audience, from those attending tonight. Because
Reverend,
yeah.
Can I interrupt?
We have another one of our students has joined.
Okay.
They're running late because the buses get there at a certain time, so they're running a little late.
That's fine. Yeah. Who do we have?
Jasmine Baptiste.
Say the first name again.
Jasmine Baptiste.
All right. Miss Jasmine, how you doing tonight?
Hi,
Jasmine,
good evening.
Good evening. My name is Reverend Manning. You are joining us for this meeting that we have every Monday, and our conversation tonight is about education, and talking specifically about your school, and so we just want an opportunity to get to know you. But Jasmine, tell us what year are you at Rooted School?
So I joined in 2020. I started online and then I started going to school 2021. But my whole entire year, it has been amazing. I love that school and like the staff, they're so nice and like they support me in things that I need. And like, there's like, I have, I never thought I was gonna get to have friends and everybody in there is nice and they treat me with will and respect. Yeah.
That's awesome, Jasmine. So when you like talk about Rooted School to your friends and you tell them about your school and what you're doing and what opportunities that you have, what do you see that you have at Rooted School that is so much better or different or advantageous than other schools that your friends might be attending?
So what I tell my friends is that some of the schools that they attend, they don't give opportunities like take college courses like they allow in rooted schools. So I think that's a very good opportunity, mostly for me because I want to go to college and attend a 4-year college. And I feel like that is a very good opportunity that they offer because there's so many schools that they don't offer college courses like that. And I feel like it's rooted school is a very good tool for like my friends to join. I recommend them to, join the school because it's a very good school to go to if you want to go to college. They
What do you want?
offer very good. Yeah.
What do you want to go to college to study?
So I wanted to do travel nurse, sorry, or I wanted to try doing phlebotomist.
All right. Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
You can do it all, Jasmine.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work. Is there another student on? I want to make sure I don't miss any student. I heard from Jasmine, I heard from Alvin, and I heard from Jason. Are there any other students? All right. Students, we're going to go to a brief question time for all of our guest panelists. So you're on with Dave Cash, who's one of the teachers, Robert Jones, and Jerome Morgan, Dr. Wyatt, and I think that's everybody. But we're going to have some questions from the audience now that are attending on this Zoom. And so, Valerie, do we have any questions from the audience?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I do not see a question in the chat. I don't, Reverend Manning, I do not see a question in the chat. But if anyone would like to have a question, I'll speak your question, I'll make a comment. You are welcome to do so at this time. As we ask you to keep it as a minimum of 1 minute because time is far spent. And we want to hear the closing remarks from our guest speakers. So you are freely to ask your question. I'll make a comment. We have a question by Ms. Lane.
My question is, if I could hear from all of the Dr. Wyatt and Dave Cash, and also from Jerome, if you could make one change or a first change in terms of the charter school system as it now exists, what would that be?
Ladies first.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. So for me, I think my biggest gripe with the charter school system is the all of the autonomy, but it's not equivalent to the accountability piece. So when I think about the issues that parents have, there would be no need for me as an advocate if the schools decided to work with families instead of it feeling like an adversarial situation. I shouldn't have to fight with anybody to have buy-in or have a partnership with the entity that is educating my child. One of the advocacy cases I worked on right before I got on the flight was a parent. She was going to one of the better schools, in quotation marks, and her son has special needs, and the child was made to drink from the same cup every day without the cup being washed or cleaned. And so the child became ill, and the pediatrician could not find any medical reason why the child was getting sick. And then, we had a meeting and we found out that the person taking care of him at the school just didn't want to clean the cup. So she was just putting his medication and putting his food in the same cup every day without washing it. And it's things like that, that I feel like if you don't love children, you should not be anywhere near a schoolhouse, right? Because you wouldn't feed your dog from the same dog bowl without making certain that it is presentable for him to eat from. And so to have a adult feed a child who can't advocate for himself in a manner, because if he could do it, he wouldn't need you to do it. If his mom could also be his teacher, she wouldn't send him to school. So parents depend on us to be what we are trained and taught and educated to be. And I think my biggest gripe is the lack of accountability and this idea that anybody can just walk off the street and play school in front of our children. There's no other profession in my mind that you can think of where you do not have to have the proper training to be able to interface with the public. You can't walk into a hospital and hope and pray that the white coat actually went to school. You don't walk into a courtroom and hope the person who is defending you, went to some, had some legal courses. There's no other profession I feel in my mind where they could kind of just decide, oh, I want to teach today. And that bothers me because it minimizes all of the hard work that people put into the skill sets that they've learned to be able to be the best them that they can be for our children. And I'm not against TFA. There's some wonderful people I've met who've come through TFA. I think that it's good. It has its ups and its downs, but I do believe that the lack of accountability is detrimental to the overall idea of what school is about. You have to be accountable to parents. You have to be accountable to students. And the moment you stop feeling like you don't have to is the day that you decide that you're not an institution of higher learning or institution of growth, an institution of humanity, because how are you not accountable to the very people that make your profession possible? Without children, we can't do this work. Without families, we can't do this work. And so my biggest gripe would be the lack of accountability. You have all of the resources in the world, but you lack the accountability for people to hold you accountable when you misstep with our kids and with our families.
Thank you, Dr. Wyatt. Let me go to Mr. Cash.
So, Dr. Wyatt, you're so on point in everything you're saying tonight. I was gonna say autonomy and accountability too. So I'm gonna go to another one. Thanks for naming that point and saying it so well. So in charter school law in Louisiana, since 1995, this law has existed that exempts charter schools from following education-related laws or BESI policies, LDOE policies, procedures and rules and things like that, except for certain laws that have been said, okay, they do have to follow these. So charter schools have in the state for a long time, almost 30 years, had broad exemption from the laws that were passed to protect children, protect parents, protect teachers in this state. Charter schools were given that broad exemption in order to be able to innovate, right? That's what they were told they could do. But I think, as Dr. Wyatt so eloquently said before, there's not a lot of innovation happening. We were told we were going to get innovation, and we just haven't. It's been a long time. So I would love to see, if you're talking about one change to the system, let's remove those exemptions. Let's make charter schools have to follow the exact same laws that every other school in the state has to follow, and see how they do when they don't have all that unearned privilege that they've been given in law. So that's what I would say. Let's take that away and level the playing field and say, all right, if you're so great, let's see you do it with all that.
Remove exemptions. Thank you, Dave. Robert Jones.
Oh, he's gone. I believe he had to leave us.
Okay, Jerome, you still there?
Oh, yeah, I'm still here.
You want to chime in on that, give an answer to that?
Yeah, of course, since Dr. Wyatt and Dave took those answers, I would say the one thing I would change is to change schools back to district schools to put it back in the hands of the neighborhood, so that students won't be traveling so far and have so many students from different areas, making it hard to connect as friends and to, to collaborate on certain things. I think having schools and walking distance from homes and families, uh, was the only thing that kept us in the day pre-Katrina, in those days pre-Katrina. It's just the fact that we had to go to the school in our neighborhood, although they was messed up schools, you know, it, it it centered us in having those morals and principles of our neighborhood and made us accountable one to another, uh, and help families help each other, to become that village that we're supposed to be in raising our children.
Well said. Well said. Thank you. And let me move on to see if there's any other questions from our attendees tonight.
You have a question by Miss Betty.
Betty.
Well, actually, my question was for Jerome, for Robert, who is gone, but I can tell you what I was going to ask Robert about. Robert not only is a mentor and an employee at the Public Defender's Office, Robert is also an artist. And Robert participated in a wonderful exhibit that's up right now at the Newcomb Museum of Art called Unthinkable Imagination. And each one of the artists worked with a child who had been in the juvenile criminal system. And from their conversations, Robert made this wonderful piece of art from his conversation. So I encourage you guys to go to Newcomb and see it's open till June. So I encourage you to go see the exhibit and find Robert's painting. I can't remember what the name of it is, or I would tell you, but that was my comment and my question to get Robert to tell me about it.
All right. Thank you, Betty. We appreciate that. Definitely go and check that out. And we appreciate you promoting that, Betty. That's very, very, very good. I got to end here, everybody, because I want to get some closing remarks from all of our guests tonight, just to close us up with just what they are hopeful about for our education system, and maybe some just hopeful in terms of goals for the future of what they see with our students in a world in where we see such negativity that is just prevalent on our media sources. What do you see that brings you hope for this generation of students that are being educated right now? If you want to go that way, I would love to hear your thoughts on that, but anything as you just close us out. So Mr. Dave, would you share?
Pastor Manning, hold on. Can you hold on for Mr. Dave, please? I want to say, Alvin, is he the student? He have his hand up. So can we? Okay.
Alvin, please.
I would like to say one thing that I do hope to see, especially in not only school systems in New Orleans, but everywhere, like the school systems that we have in the United States. I hope to see that I hope to see schools with better resources and support for students in the future. And not only that, I hope to see, I guess, more Black educators, because we lack that right now, because that is very much needed in the classroom, especially Black males in classrooms. I hope to see that. And I also hope to see in the future is, I hope to see my generation do better. I want to see them be better than the past generation. I want to see them do things that they've always dreamed of. And my word, my last word to say, like, for next generation is follow your dreams. Whatever your dream is, follow it. even if somebody tell you no, or they may have other things or other ideas or opinions, do what you want to do from your heart. That's what I have to say for my generation. And that is what I hope to see in my community of New Orleans and especially my country. And I also hope to see changes like social justice as a part of being Black in America. I hope to see improvement, a huge improvement in the system, criminal justice system. I want to see change because they are locking us away. I want to see that.
Spoken true scholar, Miss Alvin. We appreciate those words. You are an incredible part of this discussion tonight, and I can't tell that you are not used to speaking because you have done an incredible job. I appreciate that. I don't know if Jason is still on. Did we lose Jason?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
Jasmine, still there? Jasmine? All right.
Yes, I'm still here.
All right, Jasmine, what are you hopeful about for your generation of students that you see in school right now? What brings you hope about their future, and what do you want?
Well, I hope in the future that everybody gets to complete their dreams and like not let anything stop them, because there has been very much a lot of distractions, mostly for like young teens like us. So I just hope everything changes and just everything in the future becomes much better.
Very good.
Just,
Thank you, Jasmine. We especially just appreciate y'all. We know you got studies to do and commitments to do at home, but I appreciate y'all getting off the bus or getting home from school and taking time. Listen, Martin Luther King said, he said, if you cannot, let's see, how did he put it? If you cannot fly, run. If you cannot run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But by all means, keep moving. So whatever you do in your life, no matter what distractions or obstacles come, keep on moving and don't ever give up. Don't ever quit. We need you, and we know you're going to do incredible, extraordinary things in your life. We can't wait to see it. Let me ask for final thoughts from Dr. Wyatt.
Hey, for me, what I want in all facets of this world we live in is equity. I think that there's too much divisiveness going on. I think even in politics, I think if we put humanity at the forefront of a lot of the policies we create, a lot of the laws we write, I think that we'll start to see some level of togetherness, some level of equity in our judicial system. I think that we have to stop politicizing things like healthcare and education. Anything that infringes on somebody's quality of life should not be a political talking point. I think, free healthcare and free education should be a uniform thing across this country. I don't think people should die because they can't afford medication, just like I don't think people should lack education because they can't get into the better institutions because they can't afford them. So I think for me, equity is always at the forefront of the work that I do. I think if we stop worrying about just our homes and ourselves, our church and our community, and started to have a us mindset and a we mindset, even across color lines, even across party lines, I think then and only then will this country begin to heal, and that healing could trickle down to our states and then to our cities and then to our neighborhoods. But I think when you have the nation struggling, it's hard to ask, these little communities of people to do better by each other when they're watching the country dissolve right before its very eyes because one group is trying to one up another group, but they're forgetting that we're all people at the end of the day, and every decision you make affects a living, breathing person. And I think when we start to think about how our decisions and our actions affect others, we'll get better. So if you ask me what I want to see change, I want to see some measure of equity so that the human race can elevate itself over Black or white issues, poor and rich issues. You know, I think the human race will only succeed when everybody looks at the other person as a part of themselves. So in order to elevate humanity, there has to be equity across every boundary that has been created by man, right? Because God didn't create this mess, man did. And so as a people, we have to put our political agendas aside, our personal issues aside, our hatred aside, our privilege aside, our wounds aside, and say it's time to heal. And that's the only way we're going to get to it, is everybody treated equitably, not equal, but equitably. So that's what I want to see.
Thank you, Dr. Wyatt. We appreciate you being here tonight, taking your time to share with us your expertise tonight.
Thank you,
Brother
for having
Robert. Was Robert going to? Or was Robert, is Robert still there? Jerome?
Yeah. Well, I'll answer the question, what gives me hope, which is the easy one, because, you know, people like you, Reverend Manny, you know, Dr. Ashante Wyatt, Betty DeMarco, David Cash, Robert Jones, Richard and Larissa, you, Ben, you know, everybody on this call gives me hope. And I'm not just saying that. I really mean that. You know, it's hard. It's hard to keep going when you think you're the only one doing it. But you know, I get rejuvenated, energized every day when, you know, I see people like yourself and others on this call or hear about things that you are doing. Just like when I was in prison, that kept me going, hearing about the fight that was going on for me. Uh, and it just energizes me each and every day. So I thank all of you for not giving up on this fight. What I hope to see is, as I alluded to a little bit earlier, is less transportation to and from school. You know, I miss, you know, hearing kids walking from their homes, meeting up with their friends, walking to school in a joyous, you know, manner, you know, you know, and that's what I hope to return back to. I hope that we can return back to each other. I hope that we can return back as neighbors, uh, and as, you know, a village, with one goal, is to raise the next generation to be better than us.
Absolutely. What you said, Brother Jerome, just reminds me of the understanding and concept of Ubuntu village. I am because we are. And we must hold to that understanding and that philosophy if we're ever going to heal. So thank you all for sharing your thoughts and your words and your expertise. And thank you for all that each of you do to contribute.
We haven't heard from Dave yet.
I thought we did. I thought Dave, I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
Thank you, first of all, so much for inviting us to be here tonight. And it's really an honor to be a part of this discussion. And I'm appreciative of the excitement that I hear from people and the questions about talking about education. It's near and dear to our hearts, all of us. So I think, for context to my answer about what gives me hope, I should say I have two jobs. In the morning, I get up and go to school and teach at Rooted School until lunch. And then at lunch, I leave and go put on my President of Utno hat and work in that capacity in the afternoon. So what gives me hope that comes from Rooted is seeing students every day, and the young people that we work with, I have the privilege, you know, to be with, are so incredible, and they all give me hope that, you know, they're, like you heard Alvin and Jasmine and Jason, and there's so many more, you know, that you could hear from that would also give you hope the same way that they did tonight. So working with young people in this school for 16 years has given me hope, that as much as we've messed things up, that, you know, they are the ones who are going to make everything better. So, and then the other thing that gives me hope is seeing teachers coming together and organizing at their schools. And little by little, we're getting more and more teachers towards, learning collective bargaining agreements at their schools. And it isn't easy because lots of schools are very hostile to unions, but the building that power little by little and make sure that, working people have control over their destiny of what it's like at work, and seeing that, increase and multiply gives me hope that I know there's more contracts coming around the corner. So those are the things that really give me the hope right now.
Thank you, Dave. We appreciate all that you do. And really, we should be envious of the frontline view that you have, that each day gives you hope because you are able to see just the genius and the motivation and the concern and care and passion that all of these students have. So we just appreciate you sharing that with us, to give us the understanding that there is hope for a future because of places like Rooted School, people like you and Jerome and Robert and Dr. Wyatt and Alvin and Jason and Jasmine and the 140 or so other students, and all of the students here in the city of New Orleans who have yet to realize their potential, but are counting on us to walk alongside them, to take their hand and to provide for them the resources that they need to be successful and to work towards that end. So we're glad to be a part of this discussion tonight. We'll have it again in a couple of weeks or so as we have part 2. Thank you all, panelists, for being here tonight and taking up your time to spend with us and to offer your expertise and passion around the issue of education, equity, accountability, as we move forward. Let me ask this. Are there any announcements that any of us need to be aware of so that we can participate in any events or activities that are coming up? So if any of you know of any announcements, please feel free to share them at this time.
I wanted to announce that Dr. Williams, the new superintendent we've hired schools, and she will be here next on February 7th to participate in the second part of this series.
No, not
No,
February.
February
February
27th. Sorry.
27th, and I haven't received a confirmation from her yet.
We look forward to receiving that confirmation and look forward to all of you joining us again. You'll hear more information about it as you open our newsletter and as we try to always keep you up to date. Is there any other announcements?
Yeah, I would like to announce that we are having a Black History program and talent show on February the 6th here at the school, at the auditorium, and it's going to happen around noonish, 1 o'clock. Still trying to nail down a time, but the date has been determined. So February the 6th, Rooted School is having this Black History program and talent show.
Is there a flyer about that we can promote anywhere?
No, I'm actually, it's new because it was just approved from, the logistics and everything just today. So the flyer hasn't come out, but you gave the offer to make an announcement. So thank you. When there is a flyer, I could send it to the group.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that. But until then, everybody write that down. February 6th at Rooted School at noon in the auditorium. All right. Any other announcements? All right, everybody. We are going to leave it here. We always close with a word of prayer. And I want to extend the invitation. If anyone on the forum tonight would like to close us in prayer or any encouraging word from your faith tradition as we go our separate ways tonight. Anyone want to close us?
Reverend Manning, can I just mention that I think Dave has his hand up or had his hand up? Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, I'm just typing my announcement in the chat, but I was going to say it verbally too, which is that our local, started in 1937 as AFT Local 527, which is still our designation today. Last year marked our 85th anniversary as a local, and we are celebrating on March 25th at noon. We'll start at the Greater Tulane Baptist Church, which is at 214 North Johnson Street. That's the church where our founders first met to charter our local. And so we'll start there with a program of speakers and song. The the Grammy Award-winning International Singing Mustangs from McMain High School will be there under the direction of Mr. Clyde Lawrence, and they'll be singing in addition to the speakers. Then we will all march down Canal Street to 3401 Canal, which is First Grace United Methodist Church, and that's where our offices currently are, and we'll have a reception there. So we would love to invite you to celebrate with us this milestone in our history and legacy.
Very good. Congratulations, and definitely want to support you. So everyone, please make note of that event. Anyone else? Any announcements before we close?
Yes, I will make an announcement. We want asking everyone, please keep an eye on our Just Beyond Facebook page, because we will have a second part to this forum, because our education is very important. So we're asking everyone to please keep an eye on our Facebook, and we will try very hard to have Dr. Williams here, and we do not want no one to miss out on the future of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Anyone else before we close? All right, everybody, let's close in prayer, unless there was anybody that felt so led to close us tonight. All right, hearing none, I will do so. Oh God, God, we thank you for the youth, the scholars that were on this call tonight, and we uplift not only them, we uplift every student. God, we know they have so much that they are trying to navigate at this moment as they mature, as they deal with pressure of studying and pressure of making friends and forming relationships and thinking about their future. God, we pray that you would better equip us to be in my generation and other generations to be better listeners, better learners from them, better supporters of them, encouragers of them. God, we thank you for the opportunity to hear from them tonight and hear from each of these guests so that we may be more motivated to aid these students and everyone who takes upon as the incredible task of assuming leadership in education. God, we ask that you would continue to give peace to this nation, and that you would continue, Lord God, to teach us how to promote justice, how to be lovers of mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. God, protect us as we go our separate ways tonight, that no hurt, harm, or danger would come to any of us. And we ask this in the mighty name of our God. Amen. God bless you all. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night.
Good night.
Reverend Manning, Alvin has one more thing to say, please, sir.
Alvin, please close us out.
Oh, I'm sorry, you all. I have a quote that I made myself. It's not just about becoming successful. It's about achieving your goal. It's about picking up something. It's about receiving and keeping. It's about changing a problem. That's all.
All right, Alvin, that was incredible. Thank you. Hey, Alvin, what are you doing next Monday?
I don't think I have anything to do next Monday.
We're going to be here next Monday, same time, same channel. Would love for you and Jasmine and any other friends you want to tell them about Justice and Beyond for you to join us again, because your input is so incredibly needed and we value it so much. So thank you for every word that you had tonight. God bless you in your studies. Keep up the good work. You're doing
Keep up the good work, Alvin.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And both and all your friends. Thank you so much. And come join us again, all right? Justice and Beyond meets every Monday, and give us your email address. We'll make sure you get our newsletter and you can tune in, all right?
You've just added to your fan club, Alvin.
Thank you all. And I've also dropped my email.
Thank you. We'll put
Thank you, Alvin.
You're incredible. All right, y'all. You too, Jasmine. You're incredible too. Thank you, guests. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Okay, good night.
Arissa, you were right. They were great. You're muted, but that's okay. I can tell from your smile what you're saying.
Right. Yeah, I told you they would be. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for getting it together. Great forum.
Good night.
Good night, all.